Bueno tuko wate na batu ndene ya Weru TV nintuka Jumaine tariki 21 mwezi wa 5 mwaka 2019 ntugera Meru bedrite bayetera bonene Governor Meru Kiraitu Murungi thira chokia chure bire bedrite bikuru kiri ripoti ya mutali madhabu wa thirikari bia mwaka yongirile 17-18 ndeto ithirite kiarirwa bonene ndene ya county Meru Nekinya Senator Meru mithekali nturethira aikinya kiri ikarokia mbunge ya county u kwithira akiarerio ntubo na kwithira kinya akiuria abunge ba county u kwithira baitume kabobo akiri kuruta ngwiyo ira babatire kwithira bakiruta ndene ya mbunge ira ni oversight kwithira bakibwithia mawatho na kinya kwithira baikoswa thirikari na re kwithira itiwita ura kubui na kiri ripoti ikarikanwa kuri nteto ciethire ikiumira cigie kuraitangi bia kurera mainyo rekana itangi rimwe kuuma ngiri imwe ende thirikari ya county Meru ethire kiura matangi yana shilingi ngiri 3 na beta ciethire citumika milioni 4.3 kirure ribu bwa mainyo na kinya mishara ya kurea ritingwe ba county Meru yethira iitia na gichunchikia bilioni 1.6 ile ithandatu na kinya biuri wethira bikorwa ontubuige wandiki bwantu abokuma rutero mwe nkulukie gichunchike 70 na kuringana na katiba ni ati kutibati kuthe ukiandikwa ntuba kuma rutero mwe nkuluki ya gichunchike 70 kura ni unipo watho ya kikatiba kiri thirikari chematura na gaiteno kau mythical nturone Senator wa Meru na urani vice chair wa kamiti ya madhabu ya Senate nethire akiweti kuri na ngwethire teite na mbere ya wandikani kiri thirikari ya county ya Meru arakukwirikana ati chief of staff no wethire ari chief officer kiri rwangi rwa ritingwe ba county ya Meru untubura kuwa andiki gutate na watho nontu ni mitaratara itathingatiro ya kuandika antu kiri county u na kwa tuka watilite itebiele burani gutate na watho bothirikari na kaite no kau mantu ethira ya kiumira ati absorption kana utumire bwambete cha county bothirite bwetumika na njira enini muno arakukwirikana county ya Meru ya tumire gichunchi kia 26 kuma kiriana kiambetire chithiri kirenkanirwa ni thirikari kiri witi na mbere bomatura untuburanire Ameru bethirite baichuria nika absorption rate ere ya bwithitwe ni thirikari ndhiru na ere kubwithwo kiri thirikari bwithirite bukinia nontu mworoto yo thirikari ire rikuthai ya Kiraitu Murungi ni ku make Meru great ontuburane ndebo kuonekana ya kabutithirite bwikinyanilwe kiringanithwa na county ingi nontu kuringana na Senator Meru mithekali ntureni ati county ya Tharaka-Nithi ni thirite itumira mbete tio na njira at least enda yankulukia county Meru nontu kurikana county ya Tharaka-Nithi ni atumire mbete tio na gichunchi kia 60 na mwanja kiringanithwa na county ya Meru ithirite itumira mbeta na gichunchi kia 26 na kinya ururi bwa county mwanya kana account nkuluki yemwe ya mbeta tia account ya Meru untuburane kiutate na watho boki katiba nontu ni account yemwake rebat kwithira ikiruurwa ya kwithira itithia na mbere mantu ege weti na mbere bwa matura ndene tia account mwanya te account yake ya Meru na ikarika no te county yake ya Meru kana tinga vona county yake ya Meru wethirite ikinya kiri ambere ya kamiti ya madhabu ya Senate nontu aitu wethirite tukiona ngavana mwanya ngavana wa Nairobi Mike Sonko nethirite aikinya mbere ya Senate na mwankira thaine ndi katwethire tuwikia imwe kwa imwe ndene ya Senate kiri kamiti ya utali madhabu kenda ngavana wa Meru Kiraitu Murungi kwethira akiambiria kwaria katwethire tuwikia na otwethire tukibura mantu ethirite ya ita na mbere
written response. Yeah, we just filed the responses. What about the supporting documents? Because that is important to mitigate. The Governor, you may sit because you've can I see the letter? The letter required the written responses and any supporting documentation. The practice in other parliaments, and we shared some time with the Public Accounts Committee at the House of Commons. There are some parliaments that will not give you an opportunity to bring the records before them because the assumption is that they need to be dealt with at the time of audit. Ours is evolving. And we feel that because we have that duty constitutionally, we can afford an opportunity for the Chief Accounting Officer to mitigate some of the issues raised by the Auditor General. The absence of any documents in support would mean that we would agree with the Auditor General in totality, and therefore just recommend to the DCI, DPP, EACC, or any other relevant body to take action. Would it be then your position that for 2015, 16, 16, 17, what you have submitted is sufficient for us to make a decision and there is no further mitigation necessary from your government?
Now, Mr. Chairman, I think there's some bit of confusion, because according to a notice that you sent to us, we invited today to come and assist the committee in its consideration of the auditor's report for the year 2017-2018. The letter you wrote to us, we responded, but we did not expect it to form part of the discussion today. So if it was the intention of the committee for us to provide adequate material to prepare for and discussions of those previous records, would have been ready. But given a bit of time, then we should be able to provide you with the supporting documents.
The notice that was in the newspapers served two purposes. It was to invite you, but it was also to inform the public that their county government was appearing before the Senate. But the footer of that notice, if you read the footer carefully, it makes reference to timelines laid out in our earlier correspondence. So you wouldn't just read the calendar and not read the footer. Now, I take note that you responded within, I think, by 12th of April from the records that we have, in line with that letter. But it would also be important because I think it's Kimani Wamatangi who calls it climbing the tree from the top. You are aware that 17-18 is a current year that assesses your time in office. But we cannot run away from the things that were done in the year of election campaigns. In fact, that is, for us as a committee, where the greatest risk lies. And so if we're going to do 17-18 without looking back at those years that led to elections, and you're a new governor, if you're a governor who has been re-elected, it would have been different. Perhaps part of your campaign agenda was because of poor financial management in prior regimes. And we cannot avoid looking at that duration. So we need to agree on how to ensure that we close that gap. And I might be helped by my members on this before we make a determination and go forward. Senator Matang.
Yes, Chair. I think I would like to take it up exactly with what you said. One, Chair, we have a scenario that has been playing out whereby governors who have been elected new in offices and took over from former governors have formed the presumption that because the accounts of 2016-17 and 15-16 fell under the governors whom they defeated in the elections, that it is not their prerogative or responsibility to file those responses and, as you've said, including the supporting documents. And I take cognizance of the fact that, as you've said, the governor for Meru yes had filed the responses, but in absence of the supporting documents. Given his explanation, he would be saying that he will be filing those supporting documents. What I want to say clearly is that governors need to be clear in their minds that in terms of the perpetuity of succession in government, that it is their ultimate responsibility to file all documents as required, Chair. Number two, it's also, if you allow me to also say to the governor for Meru, the accounts he would file today would not make sense in the absence of consideration of the previous accounts. I mean, if there was a gap of 2 years in whatever he inherited, because all governors, once they have been elected, they assume the office, they inherit assets, they inherit liabilities, and so from that point of continuity, if we were to consider the accounts of 2017-2018 without considering the accounts of the other previous years, then what that would mean is that, as you've correctly said, Chair, would have jumped the bridge and tried to make sense of things that you can't make sense of in the absence of the 2 years. And so it is very, very important that those accounts be filed, and then we are able to look at them, Chair. But otherwise, let me take the opportunity to also welcome the Governor for Meru, with your permission, Chair. And because he's one of the few governors who are also former senators here and succeeded, I've always said to governors who succeeded having come from the Senate that if their counties become an example of failure, it would be very unfortunate for the Senate, because the Senate has been very loud all the time for all those years, Chair, when we sat, and said to governors that this is what we expect to see of your counties. And we went on for 5 years. So for those that happened to have succeeded, and Kiraitu Murungi, the governor for Meru, is one of them, he carries with them a very major and big weight that he has to leverage and justify in terms of all the things he said to the governor he defeated. That he will now be able to guide and lead the county of Meru to heights, Chair, and success that he envisaged and he campaigned on the platform of. And so he used it also to the Senate to justify that all he learned here is worth what he's doing.
Thank you, Senator Matangi. Members, I want us to be careful so that we confine ourselves to the issue before us on the records, because we will have an opportunity at a later stage when the governor makes his opening remarks to react to it, so that we just deal with the supplementary, the issue before us on 2015, 16, 16, 17, and 17, 18. Before,
if you allow me.
Yes, Governor?
I think we should get very clear instructions from the committee. We as governors are willing to comply, with whatever the committee requests, so long as it is lawful and provided for both in the Constitution and the Public Finance Management Act. The notice you sent to us, and I want to read it to you, apart from stating the dates, says that all county executives are requested to submit written responses in hard and soft copy, and all supporting documents to specific issues raised in the auditor's report on the financial operations of the respective county executive for the financial year 2017-2018. The relevant Auditor General, Regional Hub offices, and to the office of the clerk of the Senate.
Read it in full.
I want to finish. The clerk of the Senate. First floor, main parliament buildings within the timelines communicated in the previous letters. Now, then the meetings will be held, committee room number 5, main parliament and buildings, Nairobi, etc. But I think what I wanted to bring to your attention is that the supporting documents that we are required to table before you today are those ones of 2017-2018, are not the previous ones.
The order, Governor.
The notice are not referred to any previous.
The notice refers, and that's why I wanted you to read it in full.
Yes.
It refers to our previous correspondence. And that previous correspondence was almost 2 pages. It was very clear on how to respond. But let us not argue, let us not have an argument on that, because it was our notice, it was our letter, it could be your interpretation that does not meet our expectation. Members, we have dealt with this previously, and because we came to discuss the state of affairs in Meru, let us not spend too much time on documentation. We pronounce ourselves, we also look at what has been submitted and confirm whether it meets the threshold, and then we agree to proceed. Is that fair? Is there anybody with a further comment on the issues of 15, 16, 16, 17? Because what we have done, Professor, you might have something useful before I rule.
Yes, Governor Kiraitu, you are a very accomplished legislator. And on a light note, you are the lost county. I used to refer him as a lost county in respect of Kisii and Meru we left them behind and they were lost. So that's for today. You know, one of the biggest headache you ever had to go through as a legislator in this Senate is the question of shareable revenue or division of revenue to county governments. One of your biggest headache today is the issue of inadequacy of funding from national government. And if you know, and you've read before and know you know it, that the current division of revenue is based on the last audited accounts of 2013-2014. For us to be current, this committee was fully informed that we now must start with the current financial years of 17-18, bearing in mind, that's why the letter was written in full, bearing in mind that the previous audited years of 2015-16, 16-17 will still form part of the report to our National Assembly. And we have taken the liberty to look at the fiduciary risks that are attendant to all these years. It will help us, and it's in your interest, that all these books of accounts are looked at so that when we present a report to the plenary, we would have completed the entire spectrum of 15-16, 16-17, and of course 17-18. And once that is done, and then the counties will be, it means extra work for us, but in the end, it's a beneficial action for the county governments. So rather than arguing which is legal or not legal, I think I would have expected you, Governor Kiraitu, to say yes, if that's the position, and it's all in good intentions, that we're going to then provide this and this and this almost immediately if you so feel. I think that will help us to proceed because the intention underlying this decision is a good intention. It's not adversarial.
Thank you, Professor. And finally,
I stand guided.
Order, Governor. Order, Governor. We will make final resolutions. Senator Kibiru?
Chair, like I have whispered to you, is that the document, the supporting documents that were to come, has to be considered as we laid our report for the previous years. Moving forward, I think what we need to do in the interest of time is what you are about to learn, and I'm not preempting that we ask the governor to provide the necessary supporting documents, and then we move on, Chair.
Well, I don't know how you read my mind, unless you're peeping at my notes. But as we have ruled previously, Governor, and with the intentions as stated by Professor Ngeri, could we then give you 7 days, because already you have done a skeleton, 7 days to share with the Auditor General, and another 7 days for the documents to get to Parliament. So that's 14 days in total for 15-16, 16-17. We therefore take it that for those 2 years, we have not received, despite your earlier responses, what you have tabled today is not sufficient days to deal with those 2 financial years.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We shall comply.
Very good. Now, let's come back to 17-18. What has been tabled before us? Clerks, could you make sure that we all have copies and I don't have a copy. Could we quickly distribute the copies? Yeah, they're the ones that they have already been tabled. So what we just need are copies for members. I think, Governor, we might have to send you back to Meru to complete this job. You can't come here with blank bullets.
That didn't come from Meru, Mr. Chairman. Yes.
Okay, members, very quickly, so that we get into the substance of today's deliberations. I'll give you a minute just to flip through, as we've always done. And it would appear that what you submitted on 12th April is different from what you've just tabled. Have there been any supplementary information? Okay, so we deal with this as the fresh version tabled by the governor under oath.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, because we have done an analysis of the earlier one. That's the reason why we asked you to send them earlier. It means that we might come across, we might not want to treat it as new, fresh evidence, but we want to treat it as supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair, just with the rider that the governor can also confirm that the same is what has been seen by the Auditor General. That the Auditor General's comments and his notes to the committee also based on the new or the improved version. If that be so, then there will be no problem.
I think that's correct.
Any observation, members, before we move on? It's, Governor, as you would imagine, when a document is brought before you and you're seeing new information, we have always moved on very fast at this particular point in time. And admissible, so that we
Bueno, tuwete na mbere kuwatania na batwe ni karo kia kamiti ya madhabu ya seneta kira kitongeretwe ni seneta Kajwang na munini wawe urani seneta wa Meru Amithika Linturi na ntukwirwa rene ntukwira Gov.Kiraitu Murungi uchoke chiuria riboti ya mwaka yo 2017-2018 ende ya mwana buu akwithira kiurua ni mukarigite wa kamiti ethire nendi akithuranira kinya kopi kana maratasi ya mwaka yo 2015 2016 na 2017 kiri Auditor General na kwa ntuku 14 kwithira ikinyithia maratasi ya nontu kuringana nabo neti batithirite bakiamukira kopi cia riboti ya 2015 2016 na 2016 2017 na Governor Meru akwithira itikirio ntubu na u akethira aikia maratasi yau nikenda ethira etana mbere kuolelwa ni kamiti ya madhabu ya Senate ntuko ekwirigiro nontu katwithire tugicoka nindi tuone mbio gwithira etana mbere ndene ya Senator rankona Senator wa Meru aita na mbere kwaria
that will be referring to during the consideration of our report that we make after these hearings. And for purposes of moving forward, Chair, I remember when this committee or the governor appeared here last time, I listened quite clearly that yes, indeed, that we work very well in the county of Meru. We do not have problems, and we've been trying to deliver on the mandate that we are given differently by the people of Meru. So, Chair, I am seeking your guidance on the following matters because the primary oversight or the primary role of the senator is oversight. And as required of Article 96, you realize that one of the specific one is on the oversight of revenues or finances or money given to counties from the national government. but my interpretation of that Article 96 tells me that the oversight role is not only limited to aspects of finance. It's a very broad one. It's a very broad mandate where you cannot hide your hand under the sun as a senator when a few things are happening in the county. So, Chair, I won't say we continue to work closely and effectively, but it is one or two issues of serious concern that I would want us to determine to enable us proceed. Chairman, one of the issues that I personally have, which is not personal, is the aspect of accountability and absorption of money, because this is a matter that has been captioned in the financial statements, absorption of finances. The other thing is an aspect to do with governance. The way I'm raising this aspect of governance, Mr. Chair, is because when you look at the statements, the signed financial statements, on page 7, the financial statements have been prepared as opposed to be signed by a chief officer. In the statements, I don't know whether it will be known, it is for you to tell us, that the current statements are not signed, but the name of the chief officer who signed them is not indicated. Secondly, they are also supposed to be countersigned by the end of Treasury and Accounts, his name, and the ISPAC member number indicated. The name is not there, the ISPAC number is not there. I know it is a requirement under reporting standards that this has to be done. The other matter, Chair, I want to raise is because we can't just...
Senator, may I request that on the financial statement, we let that be the next step, so that we first deal with this that is written. In fact, I thought you were going to refer to the signatures on what we are looking at right now, rather than the financial statements, because that is coming later.
I said I'm raising an issue to do with the governance, so that we are able to collectively look at the issues I've raised in the context, and then be able to guide us on how we move forward.
Okay, so
since I've done that,
I will give you a little time because you're the local senator, but we need to manage the time so that we proceed. Proceed, Vice Chair.
So secondly, because I'm done with this one, I will go to the document that has just been presented to us, and that is a response to the audit queries raised. But Mr. Chairman, I will not run away from the financial statements, because I would want you to look at it in the context that I would persuade you to look at it. The financial statements have shown us the county government of Meru executive and note and 3, just immediately after the statements, you realize that the auditors have given us the key management staff of the county of Meru. Anyone who has the financial statements for 2017-2018, I don't know, from month 3.
Which we need to be clear that these are from, actually these have been submitted by the Auditor General.
Yes.
And what the Auditor General has forwarded, what was forwarded to them by the Meru County, so that we don't have arguments on whether it is our report or the county government report.
Yeah.
So you're referring to a report of the county government of Meru. For avoidance.
Yes, a report of the county government of Meru.
Okay, proceed.
Yes, that's it. And I hope they're also looking at it. So on this page, the Auditor General has given us a list of the key management of Meru. The county executive ended by Gov.Kiraitu Murungi, deputized by Titus Ntochio, who is the deputy governor and the CEC Finance, Economic and Planning. and continues to give us the other names of the CEC members up to number 12. And the most important area, Chair, that I also want you to look at is that area where there is the fiduciary management, where they are saying the key officers and personnel for that particular year responsible, directly responsible for the fiduciary responsibility of this county of Meru is stated as Ntochi, who is the governor, the deputy governor and CEC planning, and the chief officer finance, Joseph Chabari. So, Chair, let's go back to the responses to the audit questions that were raised by the governor. And this is why I raised the issue of governance. Chair, when we went for elections, the chief executive and the people of Meru decided Kiraitu Murungi will be the CEO of the county of Meru, and is bound by Article 10(2)(32) to be administratively responsible and answerable and accountable to the people of Meru. So if you look at the responses, Chair, all these other officers operate under delegated authority from the governor. The responses that are before this committee, Chair, are signed by somebody called Gideon Kimathi. Gideon Kimathi is the one that is reporting to this Senate, Senate, answering questions in regard to financial management to the county, on the county assembly, the county executive of Meru, which problem I do not have. If only, Chair, in the key management structure of the county, he was listed as one of the senior key financial officers, key members of high rank within the county. So, Chair, the deputy governor is the CEC finance. All aspects of finance, of accounting and finance, fall within his docket. I know the public financial management regulations as a provision whereby those people that make reports are people within that department, and for purposes of ownership, of these responses, so that nobody runs away from responsibility, I would want to understand, Chair, why either the deputy governor is not the one who has signed these reports, the chief finance officer has not signed these reports, because the auditor's report says the people with financial fiduciary responsibility are the two gentlemen.
Okay, Vice Chair, I think I wanted us to, first of all, deal with the report before us before we get into the others. So this report on page 40 is signed by Gideon Kimathi for the County Secretary and Head of Public Service. Maybe just to know, what role does Gideon Kimathi play in the county government of Meru? The designation.
Gideon Kimathi is my Chief of Staff and also the Acting Chief Officer for Public Service. At that time, the County Secretary was not in the county, and there were deadlines within which this report had to be submitted, and that is why it can be decided on behalf of the County Secretary. But the Deputy Governor is here. Regarding the first document that the Senator talked about, you can look at Annex number 9. The financial statement is signed by the Chief Officer, Joseph Chabari, Chief Officer Finance, and Mr. Charles Mwenda, who has also given his PAC member number.
Okay, I think that one we will deal with because I've seen an audit query on that. But let's first deal with this. So, County Secretary and Acting Chief Officer for Public Service signing a written response to the Senate, yet is not listed as part of those who bear fiduciary duty or responsibility. Members, any observation before we beg to move on? Senator Kibiro.
Chair, maybe probably one of the things maybe the governor can do so that we can move on. When you delegate, there has to be some light up, or who gave the person the permission to go ahead and sign on behalf. I believe there could have been some communication that, or some deliberation that said, you sign on behalf of this gentleman who is not, or a lady who is not in. Was there some communication to that effect to give this person who signed on behalf of the county secretary some documentation or powers of attorney or things like that to sign on behalf?
Chairman, maybe I could comment on that as a CC Finance. Just like Governor has indicated, the financial statements are properly and duly signed. There is no doubt about that.
No, we'll deal with that.
Membership.
That's just a minute, Deputy Governor.
Yes.
That is an audit query. So we'll deal with it.
We'll do that.
We can't rule on it now.
Okay. But now the issue of responses, just like the way even here in Senate and also the National Assembly, all the correspondences are done through the clerk. So really the person who responds on anything on behalf of the county government is not really the governor. It's usually the county secretary. So it's quite in order. He may not be have been listed as one of the people in charge of finances, but he's the one mandated by the Act to read the Act and respond on behalf of the county government. So there's really nothing wrong with that.
I think it will be for us to determine. There are certain things that have been very clearly defined in law, particularly on financial management. Your governor talks of the imperial treasury, and that is because the treasury at county level and national level have been given some very specific responsibilities. Today, Fred Matiang'i is coordinating national government activities, but he can never come to Parliament to present the budget. He can never. He can never submit the budget policy statement because it is defined very clearly who has that duty. Even if you are the Prime Minister or Super Minister, you wouldn't do that. Even if you are the Super Chief of Staff, you wouldn't do that. And you must start seeing something wrong in that casualness about saying that anyone can communicate. The Treasury is very powerful. The Treasury is very well defined. The CC Finance happens to be the Deputy Governor. I wonder whether both the CC Finance and other CEOs were out at the same time. Members, any further comments before we agree on how to proceed?
Maybe
Senator Matangi, and as you go on, as you proceed, allow me to take note of the Chair of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the Senate, Senator Cherargei. Karibu. Senator Matangi.
Yeah, okay, Chair, I thought you wanted him to be on record. Chair, what I wanted to understand, maybe the governor then can help us to understand in light of what he said then, was now that this person was not in, just wanted you to help the Senate understand then, because upon looking at the chairman's briefs from the Auditor General, I'm seeing, and what I want to happen is that maybe the governor can help us to understand then what is the nexus between these, and that brief said that then when you're making a decision on the admission of those of the person to sign, whether it has any relation, because I was looking at this chairman's brief and I'm seeing the Auditor General from query 1 to the last query, all of them has written there at the end that all the queries have not been responded to on account of there was no response. No response was provided. I don't know whether that information is with you, Governor. There's a brief here. Maybe Chair would look at the brief, because the Auditor General says that no response was provided on all the queries. In view of what you said about the timeline, is that timeline then what was binding that these responses didn't get to the Auditor General, or what is it? What was the nexus?
Chairman, all the responses have been provided for 2017-2018. All the responses have been provided.
Well, maybe no, Auditor, I had not asked you. I was just asking the government, because we have the auditor's brief, and this brief is the one that you have said that there was would they be the reason, because I don't know whether, Chair, you had looked at that, and maybe you would ask the auditor to respond then. Because I'm looking at all of them. Auditor is saying that not resolved, Chair, no response was provided.
Maybe, Senator, Chairman.
Just allow him to finalize and then we will respond.
Deputy Governor, you respond, because it's actually you are asking the question. I'm asking the Deputy Governor. I'm asking the Governor, so you still respond.
Yes.
Or I just first wanted to get clarification from the auditor, because on a single page where you said you got responses.
Chair, I want to make we have 3 responses for 2015 to 2018. 2015, 16, 2016, 17, 2017, 18.
Yes.
For 2015, 16, and 2016, 17,
Yes.
we didn't get a response. That's what. But for 2017, 2018,
Yes.
we have.
You have the responses.
That's the responses. Okay, there are some areas that we have, even when we got the response, the
Yes.
issues were not resolved.
Yes.
And we have indicated so. Where we got sufficient evidence, we have indicated so in the last. So, Honorable Senator, you need to ensure that you are reading the document dated.
No, I've seen that. I've seen that is 1617. Yeah, I've seen that. So, Chair, in light of that, then there is no relationship. I think then the question can be answered by the guy.
I think let's frame the question properly so that it guides the discussion. We made a lot of cross references. From what I hear the Vice Chair, and who also happens to be the Senator for Meru, asking, is whether it is proper for Gideon Kimathi, whom the Governor has described as the Chief of Staff, to sign for the County Secretary and Head of Public Service. The Chief of Staff is an officer who is almost personal to the Governor. He's not even subjected to the County Public Service Board. The Chief of Staff vacates office when the Governor vacates office, or earlier, depending on what the Governor considers. Would it be proper for someone who has not been vetted by the Assembly to be the one writing letters to the Assembly, be it County Assembly or to the National Parliament? We have had this discussion. Chief Administrative Secretaries were appointed, and we have taken a position as Parliament that anyone who has not gone through parliamentary vetting, we shall not deal with. We deal with the CS or the PS, because these have been vetted. Now, even if the County Secretary and Head of Public Service had traveled, assuming that he had a fiduciary responsibility, even though he has not been listed as among those who had direct fiduciary responsibility. What about the CC Finance, who is vetted and duly properly appointed? What about the CEO of Finance? What about Head of Treasury? What about all those other directors that are listed there as having fiduciary responsibility? For me, the mischief is this, that someone appointed personally by the Governor, and we're not challenging the appointment of a Chief of Staff. It's a responsibility of the Governor. It's not in question. Just the way you appoint your driver and your cooks, etc., there's that limited cocoon that a Governor would move with. So there's no doubt about that. But would it be seen that he is usurping the roles of people who have been vetted by the assemblies, people who have been put in office properly? If I was CEC Finance sitting next to the Governor, I would be very worried. Why would the Governor's personal staff be the one doing a duty which is defined in the law as a duty of the CC Finance? The statements that you have presented to us, there's a section on statement of management responsibility. Statement of management responsibility places these squarely in the hands of the CC Finance. But there is nothing wrong in designation, because the law allows. Designation must be in writing. But even if you designated, we know chiefs of staff in most counties are what we call of governors. In some counties, they're the ones who organize for their political opponents to be beaten because they are not accountable to the assembly or anybody else. So do we, members, do we want to take a written response from the governors mtu wa mkono, or we need to insist that it needs to come from someone who has been vetted by the assembly? I think that is a question that we determine, and then we can move to the next step.
Chair, if I could have my...
You might be
Can
guilty
I
of
say-
speaking
can I say
twice to a question.
If you allow me a quick one.
Do we listen to the governor first or you go first?
Sure.
Governor?
This response was made pursuant to your letter dated 12th of March 2019. And the letter was written to me as the governor of Meru County. And they're asking me a request for written submission to the governor. And your letter was signed, actually signed for J.M. Nyengenye, CBS, clerk of the Senate. It's not even signed by Nyengenye himself. It's signed by somebody else for Nyengenye. Now, if the letter came to me, my office can reply to the letter, because the letter is to the governor. And the chief of staff is the head of the public service within the governor's office. So if the letter stated that the response should come from CEC Finance or from somebody else, then your concerns will be valid. But I think now this is being twisted. The responses are properly before the Senate, and they came in response from the office of the governor, because you wrote the office of the governor.
Senator Matangi?
Chair, yes, one would hear the governor, but Chair, the argument I would front, and I think this would be important for purposes of also precedent, is that you see, even in law, and the governor for Meru is a veteran lawyer, you come across instances, Chair, for example, when matters are filed in a court of law, and the validity of a document, for example, Chair, if you authored a document in court, the validity of that document can be determined only on the aspect of whether the signatory has the authority to confer such powers as may be carried by that document. For example, supposing you went to court and uttered that I have a lease to this land, and it is signed by the chief of staff of Meru, for example, one of the questions that would be in court would be, does the chief of staff have the power or the authority to confer the power carried by that document as to give you the relief and the enjoyance of a lease, for that matter? And that's probably what we would be arguing, and I would be expecting maybe the governor would be saying, is maybe something different from what he's saying, because the responses to governor, financial statements, the responsibility of dispensation and utilization of resources of a county cannot just be the document that will answer to those queries cannot be said to be properly and with correct authority before an institution like the Senate, with the signature of the chief of staff. Maybe you could make another argument, Governor, for purposes of the argument. Let me finish. You have your own opportunity. But my position would be that whatever the governor may mitigate, and this committee can make a decision. But it is my view that just like if you asked me, Chair, to report on the status of the office of the Senator for Kiambu, I cannot tell my secretary or my driver to sign. That's what I'm saying. I mean, he could be my employee and under the office of the Senate. But if my driver signed my status report in the office of the Senator for Kiambu, and I would argue that yes, it is my employee, it could be passed. It will pass. Yes, it is my employee. But is that proper in law in itself? Or does it Chair, amount to proper accounting? So I think that would be the issue in my view. That if the chief of staff would be signing, and what you said correctly, Chair, and governor is in those offices now, and of course he knows also. I went to allow me this one.
Yeah, finally, very briefly.
Because I went with the governor for Meru currently to one of the campaign rallies in Meru, where he comes from. And we happened to encounter the governor he defeated then. And we were under fire, the two of us, including myself, who I ended up being called names, by fellows organized to harass us, me and him then in a meeting by the then governor. And what you said is correct, that some of these fellows who are members of staff in those places are the ones who organize these kind of things. So maybe they may not necessarily be responsible or be in a position to sign these kind of documents, Chair. So I think
now let's. I'm going to give Senator Kibiru an opportunity, but I'll dissuade us from. This is not. It's not even just a legal issue, because matters of legal interpretation. This is not the right place, but this is a governance issue. Vihiga. We were tear gas somewhere, and purportedly by a chief of staff, and several other issues. And I believe there could be an assembly that has gone to court to seek an interpretation on the specific duty of a chief of staff, particularly in response to county governance matters when they've not been vetted by the assembly. Senator Kibiru, you might give us a better way forward.
Chair, you know, I'm not a lawyer, and in my later life I may become one. But I think we need to get out of the semantics and the issues that we are dealing with. The governor has come here and on oath he has presented this document. I think what the governor, you need to tell us that you have owned the document and it is now your document, because under oath you have just presented to us a document. Whoever signed, regardless of whoever signed, this today as it has been tabled, I don't know, Chair, is a document that has been tabled on record by the governor.
Thank you, Senator Kibiru. I would urge that we bring this to a close. I acknowledge the presence of Senator Omanga. Do you want to go on record?
Yes, Senator Millicent Omanga from Nairobi County, a member of this committee. Maybe I put a word on the discussion, so I've come late. Chair, for me, I'm thinking, what precedents will we be setting? We can't just say regardless. So meaning these things, the documents which will be coming here, even the people with yellow coats we see in the parking lots will be signing, and we start saying it's regardless. You know, if today these documents go to court and they look, the governor can even disown it because he didn't sign it. So for me, I wouldn't say regardless. It will be setting a bad precedent.
Senator Dulo, then Senator Linturi, or Professor, and then Governor, I'll give you an opportunity. I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
Thank you, Chair, and Governor Meru was our colleague. Welcome back to the Senate. My concern is, of course, the governor is on oath in terms of the documents that were tabled. But I think he's been in the similar situation of the Senate before. And again, for him to have actually given an example of the letter signed by Nyegenye, of course, it's very clear. If the clerk is not there, the deputy is the one to sign. In the scenario of Meru and the chief officer, the chief of staff, it's a scenario that, for me, the person who should have signed is the person who has a responsibility. If the one in charge is not there, is the deputy. And having said that, Chair, this is a matter that we should not allow in future to happen, because this is not a person of responsibility, simply because the governor has not told us that he has given him a letter to designate him to sign financial documents on behalf of the CEC Finance or Chief Officer. In conclusion, I'll say that already it's a matter of audit query. For us, in the interest of not to waste a lot of time, we should actually proceed and take note that this is a matter that should not happen in future, but we address the audit query that was raised by the Auditor General. I thank you.
Senator Professor, then Senator Cherargei.
Thank you, Chair. Governor, we're dealing with books of accounts. figures. And in such circumstances, there are certain authorized officers who deal with these figures to present before you, and they explain to you, this is the way we worked out these accounts, and this is the way it's going to be. And when you are satisfied as a governor, because it's your duty to be satisfied, the document, then you give a signal that they can be signed off for dispatch to the necessary authorities. So I think a mistake has arisen where maybe this was an oversight, that somebody who was not authorized in the treasury to sign those documents but works in your office has done so. In order for us to proceed forward, you can also provide a solution to this issue. To say that either you withdraw these documents, it will be duly executed by an authorized officer, or you say that we adopt those documents and you own up the full responsibility, because you have taken the oath, and I appreciate this, so that we don't waste so much time on the preliminaries. We can get to actual audit queries. This has been raised in the audit query. It will help us also to clear this issue as we move along. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Senator Cherargei.
Thank you, Chair. Two quick things. This is both legal issue and governance issue. This letter, and I know my colleagues, I want to agree that there should be proper authorization, because in future we are setting a very dangerous precedent, Chair, and I believe the management of the county resources is so sacrosanct issue that the person that the people of Meru, or any person that has been given this opportunity to serve, should take it with the seriousness it deserves. In my own opinion, although the matter at question, the issue of audit query, we should try and address it as of now, because it is very critical and it's important. I want to agree with Professor Ongeri that either the governor withdraws these documents or ensures the proper procedure is followed, that it is charged with authorization for his chief of staff to sign. Because my worry, Chair, as I conclude, is if we allow this to happen, we will be setting a dangerous precedent where even a director or even an employee of a county assembly or a clerk can sign on behalf of the governor. And that is when we'll start allowing the governors to abdicate their responsibility, not only legally, but the trust that the people of specific county has been given. So in my own opinion, this document should be withdrawn, and we look on a way to address this audit query. But this document, as is signed, should be withdrawn and allow the governor to proceed with other matters. I thank you.
Then finally, Senator Linturi, and the governor shall respond.
Chair, this is a matter who personally would not want taken casually, because we are trying to address some serious aspects of what I would call some impunity, and which we must all endeavor to stop. And Chairman, yes, it's true. It's not enough. He also said that the chief officer also acts as the chief of staff acts as chief officer, public service. Section 45 of the County Governments Act clearly provides on how a chief officer can be appointed to the position of chief officer. I would want the governor to tell us whether in his acting capacity, because he's acting for more than 1 year, whether he has ever presented him to the county assembly for voting, so that he acquires that power and mandate to commit the county government of Meru. Secondly, Chair, why I'm saying we should not take this matter lightly, is that when he says the other officer was not in, even if the other officer personally would have been comfortable, because I am persuaded to believe that the responses must be signed by the deputy governor, CEC Finance, or the chief officer, is that this letter of the responses we are referring to are dated 11th of May. It's unjuice. That is what we are considering. But the most interesting situation, Chair, is that the documents that I have in my possession, the documents that were found or responses that were found here, signed by Kimathi, in his original copy, which I have, compared with the document that has been presented to us, completely shows a different signature. Because Kimathi has signed the document that came here. The document that we have today here, that we are considering, is also signed Gideon Kimathi, but 4. So you find that here, because if we have to own them and they're saying the right person to communicate to us could be someone else that has fiduciary responsibility, he signed for Gideon Kimathi, who has signed for county secretary. So these documents, without being properly signed, different signatures coming from the same person. Chairman, I will find you, or I will persuade with you to find that for purposes of record and ensuring order in this Senate, that these documents are inadmissible. And this is the original form which was taken before Senate, whose signature you can be able to...
Is that the one that was dated 12th
yes,
of April?
That's the one
that was sent earlier?
Precisely.
Okay, fine. Just to wrap up, you're done? Governor, may you respond? I think you understand the concerns. Give us a response that can allow us to frame the way forward.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's unfortunate we have spent a lot of time on the procedural issue, but I think we need more clarity, either through directions from this committee or from the rules themselves, because the audit queries that we receive in the county government are actually addressed not to the CEC Finance, they are addressed to the county secretary. The audit queries are addressed to the county secretary. And the correspondence is also addressed, the county is addressed to the county secretary. And it is not very clear, there is no rules or requirement as who should reply the correspondence that we receive. Indeed, on our part, the financial statements are signed by the relevant officers in Treasury. Yeah. And what I would request is, because as one of your members has said, we are not disputing that the responses have come from my office as the governor of Meru. I'm warning them, and any person who is exercising executive authority in the county government of Meru acts under me. So these are my documents, and I'd like them to be accepted as such so that you can make progress in this matter.
Okay, let me then advise as follows. You refer to clarity on the audit process. Unfortunately, when we did the Public Audit Act, and you were in the House when the Public Audit Act was rammed down our throats, we made the mistake of saying that regulations under the Act shall be done by the CS Treasury. He's too busy to do regulations under the Public Audit Act. And I think we need to change that so that the person with power to do regulations ought to be the Auditor General. So there will be a failure in clarity, but the Act presupposes that the regulation shall come from Treasury. And we've had an internal discussion on whether we can even amend the Act so that some of that clarity comes as part of the Act rather than as regulations. So we are seized of that. Number two, in the absence of regulations, the guidance you need will come from the Constitution, Article 179, and from Article 201 that deals with public finance. I think it has been dealt with very clearly. Our expectation is that the governor, who is the chief accounting officer, if a title like that existed, because the chief executive officer, shall take responsibility for the response to Parliament. As you have rightly stated, our letter was addressed to the governor. But the principal assistant of the governor is captured in Article 179. It is the deputy governor. You cannot have a chief of staff who then becomes Joseph Goebbels or that lady in France called Marie Antoinette, who usurps the power of the executive and usurps the authority of those who've been vetted by the assembly. If the governor was unable to respond, the deputy governor was unable to respond, the CEC Finance would be next in the hierarchy. and the CEC Finance also happens to be the deputy governor. If all these were not there, then the persons listed as bearing a fiduciary responsibility ought to have been the respondents to Parliament, not a chief of staff. At this. But to balance, I've heard one member say that the governor has taken an oath. You're here, you've taken an oath. And basically when you present this, you are presenting it as your document. I think what is offensive is staff signing for county secretary when there are other people with a clear duty, people who are being paid a salary to do the job that the chief of staff is usurping. I want to seek a middle ground position. The governor is here. Okay, you. I want to propose that I'm not radical.
Yes. No, I've never been radical.
Okay.
Because the governor admits that these documents have come from his office, and having shown that we have two documents bearing different signatures from the same officer, I want to suggest the chair the governor to pick the two documents, looks at them, and assigns one of the documents that he wants us to rely on.
So at the beginning, I think we had agreed that the document sent on 12th of April are now superseded by what the governor has tabled. So we might want to disregard that because the governor said it is supplementary rather than new evidence.
No, Chair, the documents that we sent that will not be making or that were withdrawn are in regard to the years 2015, 2016, 2017, not 2017, 2018, because that is what we are interrogating. And the same, all the documents were found the same day. So it's important to...
Okay, so to understand my Vice Chair well, you're basically asking the governor to authenticate what is before us, which I think is reasonable, considering that you've taken an oath. That would have been sufficient, but we can go that extra step of just confirming that indeed, as governor, this, even though it bears a different signature, these are my responses. I think that will make everyone happy, and then we'll be able to progress.
Yes, Chair, I would agree that probably that would form a fair middle ground and allow us to continue. But for purposes, Chair, of the future, such that then there is no casualness in signing of documents, Chair, it would be okay when the governor countersigns, but also, to either give a warning, governor, because some of these things, and maybe with an undertaking here, because it's indeed a serious matter once you find, because this document has got the stamp of the Senate. This one, so it's the official document signed twice on his behalf, and so whereby we would have people signing documents casually, which are being in office like this one, in the Senate. That he ends with the matter, such that whereby his office would be abused by people.
So the document, yes, Senator. I think we are saying the same thing. Yeah. We are saying that Governor Kiraitu might have any unfavorable view of the Senate because he's been a member of the Senate. He is responsible for the structures that we are currently sitting on in terms of precedents, and I have no doubt that Governor would be willing to cooperate with the Senate. Unless, Governor, you have any significant objection to the manner in which we have agreed on proceeding.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I think we just move on. We could entrust all these financial and documents and matters relating to finance. The person who is the authorized officer and the person who deals with the financial matters is not even the CEC, is the CEO finance. So we will request the CEO of Finance, to sign those documents, on our, yes. And
okay, so we take it that since you are the one who has tabled them and you've tabled them under oath, that then these are the official responses of Meru County government. But I also heard you say that these ought to be a warning. I think when you get back home, you need to make sure that your structures, the right people are the ones who are corresponding with the right constitutional bodies.
That's correct.
Fine. We can then proceed. I know there is an issue that Senator Linturi had raised, but because it forms part of the substantive audit report, we shall deal with it when we get to it. But it's an important matter that might form the foundation of our further consideration. Right. That is the manner in which the financial statements were presented.
Chair, I also have an issue.
Yes, I will give you an opportunity. Because we've taken too much time on those preliminary issues, I will make my opening remarks very brief. We welcome you, Governor. Some of us have served with you previously in the Senate, and I have disclosed previously that you are my chairman in the Agriculture Committee. Those of us who have remained in the financial and operational audits. Because we still don't have the performance audits, we will now have to proceed and look at the numbers as presented. I wish to reflect on the role of governor, which we have spent a lot of time earlier on talking about. You are given a unique duty. In fact, Professor Ngeri, what I'm about to say might sound sacrilegious, but a governor is supposed to be omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. In other words, whether you are a very good lawyer running a county, you must be able to respond to issues of agriculture. You must be able to respond to issues of water and energy. That is a duty of a chief executive officer. We have previously had arguments that a governor is a governor, he can't know everything going on in the county. But the minute you sign up for the job of CEO, then you must ensure that you rally your troops, and you must ensure that you are able to respond to the stakeholders and the shareholders of the entity that you are representing. So I hope as you go along, as you need help, we shall allow you to invoke your deputy and other officers, but ultimately you are the one we shall hold responsible. Finally, the accounts for 2016-2017, we have to look at them very carefully. That was an election year, and we have seen just the evidence that has presented itself. There could have been occasions where incumbent governors used public funds to campaign. But we can only confirm that if we look and if we scrutinize those reports. We have given you 14 days to respond on 15-16 and 16-17. Where the responses are not making sense, we shall not hesitate to reinvite you so that you are able to shed light. And where the holder of that office is no longer the holder of the office, and we establish that he committed acts of financial misconduct, then it is Article 2265 that shall guide us. Whether that person is a CS today, whether that person is a farmer today, for acts that he committed while in office, they shall never run away from that. Let me welcome you to make your opening remarks, but just to tell you that Senate, we are largely in the position you left us. We are still struggling with the National Assembly to ensure that counties get more money. We are committed to ensuring that you get more money. We are still struggling internally on some of the issues that you had raised in your bill, Parliamentary Service Commission bill. We are still struggling internally on a framework for senators to be engaged in monitoring and evaluation. And some of these ideas, you are the architect of these ideas. I hope you still believe in what you believed in when you were in the Senate. Karibu, Governor.
I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for those kind remarks. I still have the highest respect for the Senate as the apex institution for protection of devolution in this country. I think it's a matter we discussed in this Senate for 5 years and the debate continues, but you still think there's a case for strengthening of the Senate and making it more effective in the roles that are assigned to it under Article 96 of the Constitution. We need the Senate to protect us. Devolution is under threat. We are operating under very, very difficult circumstances, especially regarding the financial affairs of the counties, because we are still operating under what we call an imperial financial system, from Treasury. Indeed, all the mess we hear about in the IFMI system poses a very grave threat to the integrity of the financial system of the whole country, including the counties. And we count on this Senate to be able to protect us as the counties of financial systems. Two, allow me to modify a bit what the chairman has said regarding the governor as being all powerful, all knowing, and omnipresent. I think that's not possible. When a chairman, we're all human beings. You can't know everything. Even you, if we ask you to operate somebody who is falling sick, you have to look for somebody else. Mr. Chairman, I think the governor is a modern CEO using modern principles of management. We are facilitators, we are team leaders, and that is why I need all these people to help me wade through the complex financial regulations. As you know, I need train as an accountant. I need these people. So give us room also to be helped by others, to be able to perform better in the counties. But I have a matter which has been bothering me regarding the issue before us today, and that's what I want to raise. Mr. Chairman, the purpose of an auditor's report and Article 229 of the Constitution is to confirm whether or not public money, which is in our hands, has been applied lawfully and in an effective and efficient manner for the benefit of the people who we represent in the counties. I think that's the purpose of this exercise. And as far as the process is concerned, once the Auditor General looks at our financial statement and makes his report, the report is brought to the Senate and also to the County Assembly. And then those two institutions debate and they consider the report, and then they propose an appropriate action to be taken on the reports. It is a very clear process and it's governed by its own rules. Mr. Speaker, the problem I have is with your vice chairman. The chairman of this committee, who also happens to be the senator for Meru County, and who should be protecting under Article 96 the interests of the county of Meru. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mr. Chairman.
I see you're nostalgic about your parliamentary days. but I represent the speaker, so it can be used interchangeably.
Yeah, I was here for 25 years. So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, it's very unfortunate the manner in which the auditor's report has been used outside this constitutional and institutional framework, both of the Assembly and the Senate. Mr. Speaker, instead of waiting for us to consider this report in a sober and objective manner, through this committee, and we need the County Assembly, and I'm happy members of the County Assembly, the Public Accounts Committee are here. Your Vice Chairman has been talking about this report out there on the radio, in TVs, funerals, churches, in bars, everywhere, in an attempt to incite the people of Meru against me. And he did. He has gone out to say that this report is evidence that there is open plunder and misuse of resources in Meru County. There is a routine violation of written law and the organization of public resources. And even before the report is considered by the County Assembly, on the 10th of April 2019, he presented a copy of this report to the County Assembly of Meru, and he almost incited the members of the County Assembly against me, saying that the report paints a very gloomy picture, of the county of Meru. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, it is very dangerous when a senator uses the auditor's report as a tool for political propaganda. We need to protect the integrity, credibility, and objectivity of this process. I don't think your Vice Chairman should be allowed to use this report as campaign propaganda because he has gone out in Meru to say he wants to be the governor of Meru. To be around to follow the processes, both in the Senate and in the Assembly. Once the report of the Senate comes out, of the report of the committee, then that will be correct, now to use that report. But to go ahead, to preempt the processes before the Senate, to preempt the premises before the County Assembly, and condemn me on the basis of a report which I have not responded to, on a matter which have not been heard, I think is grossly unfair and undermines this process. I need your guidance, Mr. Chairman, on that.
Thank you, Governor. I might not be competent to deal with Meru politics. I will deal with the statutory and the constitutional issues that you have raised. But I think it would be important that if we are to move in a safe manner, that we leave Meru politics out of this so that we just deal with the right procedures and processes. Vice Chair, I know you have a right of reply. Would you want to do it? Yes. Wouldn't you want the members to come first? Yes. Maybe let's listen to Senator Manga. She might have the answer.
No, Chair.
have senators here from Nandi, Kiambu, and several others. Let's leave issues of Meru to the people of Meru. And Governor, you shouldn't have brought in the politics, but let me guide my members. Any reaction on what the governor said? Because I think what is important is to open up the audit process, and we know that once the Auditor General tables his report to Parliament, then that document becomes what? Public. It is available on the website. It is available, even the newspaper starts serializing it. So it is a public document, and it is very difficult to gag anyone, not least the senator of your county, from discussing a document that is public. Professor Ngeri.
Chair, I know this is a very slippery issue that has been raised. And I know the political antenna tend to be heightened when there is a choosy reported before you. Indeed, this is a public document. Indeed, issues have been raised that require clarification, authentication, and clearance by this committee through the normal procedure. I'll plead with you, Governor, that regardless of what you might feel at this stage, you are now presented with a real opportunity in the presence of all these multiple multimedia agencies to be able to clear all those issues that may have been raised